Deputy General Grand Master's Fireside Chat. We will proceed with the presentation from the General Grand Principal Conductor of the work. For those of you who don't know who Tom Taylor is, you're probably in the wrong Zoom meeting. So with that, you do know who he is, and he's going to address some topics about CMMRF. I'm sure he'll take questions on that because he is the Vice President of the CMMRF board. But more importantly, in terms of that, he can talk with any of you that are on here or will be coming on later about ways that you can help or ways that we can help you in your state or your CMMRF chair in the state. But beyond that, because Tom is also still a General Grand Officer and not only Vice President of CMMRF, if you have some General Grand questions, like what does the PCW do? Why do we have a PCW? And you know and you probably have some thoughts on what the Deputy General Grand Master does. So if you want to ask him those questions too, that's fair game. But remember, today the topic is CMMRF, and then so we would like for a little while to focus on that because we want to finish this year strong. Right, Tom? Tom, with that, please take it away.
Thank you. Well, you know, I wasn't sure who the audience was going to be for this when I wrote my remarks. And so I started in 2020, I got involved with Cryptic Masons Medical Research Foundation. And like many of you, I had no idea what the foundation did, the programs that it sponsored, you know, why do we have this? So my purpose today was to provide a brief history of CMMRF, touch on what the foundation has funded, and solicit your support and continued support for the only charity of the General Grand Council. At the 33rd Triennial held in 1978, wow, that was before some of us were born, the General Grand Council formed a 501c3 foundation whose charity was research in the prevention of arterial cirrhosis. Now, I think you have to be about our age to know what that was, because we don't use it anymore. It was called hardening of the arteries. And I can remember even as a kid, there were elderly members of the community, and people would say, oh, poor Betty Jean, she's got hardening of the arteries. But the Cryptic Masons Medical Research Foundation has started and a relationship with the Indiana School of Medicine. During the first 8 years, the charity was funded by a grant from a Dr. Owen Shanto. The grant was $12,000 per year. Many of us are the beneficiaries of this research, following the research provided following recommended diets, exercise, and some of the cholesterol drugs that we take today. It was cholesterol that was causing the hardening of the arteries. In 1996, it was decided to fund a faculty chair at the IU School of Medicine, IU, Indiana University, for the study of vascular biology. The cost of the chair was $1 million, and we paid that over a 5-year period. The goal was met in 2001, and the Center of Vascular Biology and Medicine at the Indiana University was established. The research has progressed from the study of hardening of the arteries to today's research in vascular medicine using stem cells. Today's research extends over 14 different areas. These include peripheral arterial disease, abdominal aortic aneurysms, arthritis, cancer, diabetes, heart failure, stroke, and pancreatitis, to name just a few. Now, there's a lot that goes into this research, and the funding that has been provided by CMMRF allows them to expand and to develop unique, creative ways of dealing with the diseases. For instance, they found that if they encapsulated the stem cells in a gel, and to put it in terms I understand, it's kind of like when you take your vitamins in a capsule, slow release, the capsule dissolves and the medicine is then dispersed. CMMRF purchased a Bucci encapsulator, which takes the stem cells, puts them in a capsule form. They're then injected into, and mostly in the, and they talk mice, into mice. The capsules get in there, they dissolve, the stem cells do what they're supposed to do, and encapsulating the stem cells prevents them from being rejected. So it was really a critical piece of equipment that we were able to purchase with funding from CMMRF. There's a couple of studies, projects that I'd like to kind of spotlight and to give you a picture of the life-saving work that's being done with stem cell research. The one that I have here listed as number one, I'm going to skip until later because I got new information yesterday. Helping failing hearts with stem cells. Chemotherapy treatment for breast cancer, besides killing the cancer cells, also kills heart muscle. There is a phase 1 clinical trial going on. This is in humans. It's called the Seneca study. And IU was the first in the nation to do this. The results of the study were so significant that they agreed to design phase 2 and phase 3 trials, which are ongoing now. This is important. Critical limb-threatening ischemia is the most severe form of peripheral arterial disease, and it often leads to amputation of a limb. Between January 1 and March 31, I had 2 friends who lost legs because of peripheral arterial disease. And so this kind of struck home, and I'm really interested in this, and trust me, the one person I'm fairly close to, and he's about to climb a wall because he's confined to a wheelchair. Let's figure what the rest of us would be like if that happened to us. Dr. Murphy at IU. Dr. Murphy is our lead researcher and the holder of the CMMRF Chair of Vascular Studies. Dr. Murphy conducted the first study using the patient's own bone marrow cells to prevent amputation. Now, yesterday I had a conference call with Dr. Murphy, and he was talking to me about how really successful they have been. But like with anything else, you have to catch it early on. Right now, the research is not to the point where you can wait until, you know, you're halfway to losing a leg before you start getting treatment. You got to start early when you first identify the sore that's eventually going to turn gangrenous and cost you your leg. But they have been really, really successful at doing this. And they're, it has been so successful that they are applying for a $2.5 million grant to start a phase 2 study. So that they're really working rapidly on this. The one thing that they found out in the first study is that African Americans are 4 times more likely to lose a limb as a result of peripheral arterial disease. Now, I really picked up on this because we have recently made some very good connections with the Prince Hall Council of Cryptic Masons. And while they have their charities, I believe that we can tap in and ask them to join with us in supporting the research that's going on here. The other thing was the prevention of aortic aneurysms. There's a phase 1 clinical trial was so successful that they stopped at midstream, and they're applying again for additional grants from I think it's VA, multi-million-dollar grants to expand the studies, the trials. And you know, again, this is work that was started, initiated with funding from CMMRF. If there is, now, if you go to the CMMRF.org, you will see there's a video there of an individual who is providing a testimonial on the work of Dr. Murphy in this area. And he talks about how his life was saved and how he was so impressed that the work was funded by brother Masons. The gentleman was a Mason. The work was done at a VA hospital. But you know, this, I think, is just really exciting that we're able to do this. I talked about the Bucci encapsulator. Last year, Dr. Murphy came to us and said there is a piece of equipment that can help us identify more viable stem cells. And kind of in my layman's terms, they take the stem cells and apply dye to the stem cells. And this spotlights different markers in the stem cells. The more markers that match up with an individual's own stem cells, the less likely it is that the treatment will be rejected. And you know, he felt it was really critical to the success of their research. And last year we raised an additional $75,000 to provide the reagents to run this machine. Research is really expensive, and research is being hit with same things we are. Supply chain problems, they can't get the supplies of stem cells that they've been looking for. And this has led them to doing more creative, looking for more creative sources for stem cells. They've done bone marrow. The best stem cells come from young women. And for some reason or other, their stem cells are more adaptable to the work that's being done. Now, to date, CMMRF has made research grants of close to $6 million to IU. In 2021, we raised $400,000. That was, we had a goal of 500,000, we raised 400,000. We donated over 375,000, or about 78% of what we collected to charity, to the charity that we support. This is kind of important because, you know, there are a lot of charities out there that spend a lot of money on advertising. We operate our offices on a shoestring. You know, I would say our office cost, our fixed costs are only around $50,000, which covers part-time salary for an executive secretary, part-time salary for an office manager, the awards that we give out. It's, you know, this is important to us. For every dollar that CMMRF donates, it provides seed money for government grants through the CDC, NIH, VA, totaling about 35 times as much as what we give them. So for every dollar we give, they're able to go out, they're able to do research, novel research. I don't think they call it novel in the research field, but anyhow, cutting edge research. Once they prove its success, then they can go to the government and apply for more money to continue the study. John Kennedy said we need men who can dream of things that never were. And I believe that CMMRF funds the dreams of those people in the field of medical research. Our fundraising goal for CMMRF in 2022 is 500,000. You know, we didn't quite make it, but we were close enough, and we'd like to have a successful year this year. As of the 30th of June, we had collected right around $200,000. Halfway through the year, less than halfway to our goal. If you have not already given to CMMRF, please consider doing so. You can do this through wills, bequeaths, sign over an insurance policy, establish, you know, a percentage of your estate, whatever. And I think we'll be doing as much good for the people that we serve. I talked in California, I talked about the Seneca study, and I had a woman come up to me whose husband was a past grand illustrious master. And she said, that's me. I have breast cancer. The chemo is killing my heart tissue, and I'm a candidate for the study that's being done at one of the universities in California. The name eludes me right now. But if you've already given, if you're already doing as much as you can, I thank you. Regardless, I thank you. Every little bit is helpful. You joined Freemasonry because you believed in the tenets of brotherly love, truth, and relief. As Freemasons, we're charged with making the world a better place. And what a difference we can make by reducing or eliminating the effects of these diseases, the relief of our fellow man. I thank you for listening to me today, and I'll take any questions that you may have.